There's a state of emergency in Munich, Germany tonight after one or more gunmen opened fire at a shopping mall and a nearby McDonald's restaurant. At least 8 victims are dead, many others wounded. Police have swarmed the area. People have been warned to stay indoors. Germany and Europe were already on edge after an axe attack on a German train 4 days ago, and the truck attack in France that killed 84 last week.
It's believed this is the moment the shooting started. A man raises his gun, and as panicked people flee, he starts to shoot. Within minutes, armed police had flooded in. They immediately evacuated this busy shopping area and shut down Munich's public transport system as reports came in of more shots fired nearby. This amateur video apparently shows an armed man on the roof of a parking garage. He insults foreigners and then shouts, "I'm a German." Outside the shopping mall, ambulance crews treated the wounded and covered up the dead. Police spokesman Marcus de Gloria Martin said this was a terrorist attack, but who did it and why is unclear. We're looking for up to 3 perpetrators, he said, with long guns on the run. Munich is locked down tonight. The main railway station is closed, and people are still trying to get home on foot. Police have advised them once they're there to stay there as they confront the possibility of armed terrorists on the loose in the city, possibly looking for an opportunity to kill again.
German authorities at this hour are now releasing new information about today's shooting rampage. Munich's police chief saying the shooting suspect, who's now believed to be the sole shooter, is an 18-year-old German-Iranian from Munich. Apparently he had German and Iranian citizenship. The suspected gunman was not previously known to police. He apparently used a pistol, according to initial evidence they've gathered, and committed suicide. Germany has been dealing with severe threats from terrorism for quite some time, and now with the refugee influx, it seems like that is only increasing, perhaps exponentially.
Well, listen, you don't have to be a counterterrorism expert to understand what's happening in Europe and in the United States. So the current counterinsurgency or counterterrorism strategies are failing. They fail to deliver solutions. They merely treat the symptoms of terrorism that underpin the violence, and they really don't address or provide a cure for the disease. And this is being played out or amplified with the refugee crisis, where you now have polarization in societies that some are for the refugees and support that, and others are extremely against it. So it's not unfathomable to see that there's going to be a rise in these type of events, and not only in Europe, but also in the United States.
German official says at least 17 ISIS militants slipped into Europe, posing as refugees. The news coming as the Obama administration doubled the number of Syrian refugees it accepted last month. Colonel Bob McGinnis says we need to pause this program right now. Colonel, good to have you on the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks.
How would that fly, pausing this program right now, knowing what the administration has been saying about open borders?
You know, Maria, the CIA director made it very clear that they're trying to infiltrate into the United States. They've been training people here. We have radicalized people. Think of Orlando, think of San Bernardino. Think of what happened in Istanbul and Bangladesh over the weekend. These types of events are in the crosshairs of ISIS. They will continue to do that.
In Germany and France have shown us that there is not always safety in numbers. A crowd can be a target for violence. As KCAL 9's Stacey Butler shows you tonight, 2 major events in Orange County have both strengthened security because of times in which we now live in.
It's a sound we're used to hearing at airports and courthouses, but the Orange County Fair?
Things have changed. The world has become a different place.
This year, for the first time, everyone who walks into the OC Fair has to go through a metal detector and have their bags checked.
It's so sad what's going on. It seems like every day you wake up and there's more shootings going on. So, yeah, no, they need to check everybody. I love it. I feel safer. I have all my kids here, and it makes me feel good. Makes it safe, and so considering everything that's been happening lately, it knows that we can enjoy ourselves while we're here. But I know it does add a bit of time to get in, but it's for the better.
6 miles away at the U.S. Open of Surfing in Huntington Beach.
You keep an eye out on the people that are around you. But you're not going to stop living your life.
Benjamin and Janine Delgadillo were so worried about safety at such a big event, they almost stayed home.
I am concerned, and I am looking around, and I am a little bit more cautious of what's going on.
We actually came out here and noticed that there's a lot of security out here, and I think it's a safe environment.
And there will continue to be a heavy police presence here with some undercover officers throughout the weekend.
All right, 2 guys in the room. What do you got?
Yeah, this is what you're taking a look at. This is an exercise in close quarters, a stairwell and hallway inside of the fire station. Lessons on what members need to do in an extreme scenario. Masada Tactical is hosting the event with a fire company, and they're encouraging police and fire to know it could happen anywhere, even here in Maryland.
There's a lot of threats that are coming to the United States right now, as we've seen in the last few weeks. And we know that we have tactics that are proven to work in other parts of the world, namely in Israel. So we're trying to share those with law enforcement here, just to have them learn from our lessons instead of having to learn their own hard lessons.
And now what you're taking a look at, they're also getting everyone familiar with this Special Operations Medical Response Truck. It's said to be a little-known resource that really can handle 250 patients in the case of a mass casualty situation. There were also some other exercises today. One took place on a school bus, and there was also a suicide bomber exercise that took place. So a lot of valuable lessons to learn. Hopefully they'll never need to use them.
Only on CBS 2, video captures a bizarre and potentially deadly plot inside a Southland Walmart involving a weapon of mass destruction. Police say a man put together a chemical weapon.
Yeah, he tried to detonate it inside the Oxnard Walmart.
And Pat and Paul, police are calling this surprising, bizarre, and very dangerous. They say this suspect intended to hurt or kill when he came here to this Walmart. Security video shows him blending in like any other shopper inside this Oxnard Walmart. You see him in all black walking across your screen. But the man you see here, Martin Reyes, came to this store, police say, not to shop, but to build a chemical weapon.
This is a very bizarre case.
Oxnard police say the potentially deadly crime unfolded back on June 18th. Detectives tell us Reyes came to the Walmart after doing internet research on how to build a deadly chemical weapon. Once inside the store, he assembled all of the ingredients from store shelves, which included some kind of electronic appliance. Police say he used a socket near the stationery section to plug in the appliance, which was then designed to set off the chemical weapon.
I would have freaked out, but it doesn't surprise me.
Using evidence on the scene and security video, Oxnard detectives tracked down Reyes yesterday. He was already locked up on unrelated charges.
Turkey has withdrawn from Europe's human rights treaty following President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's declaration of a temporary state of emergency. Following last week's coup attempt, Erdogan is gearing up to restructure the nation's army as quickly as possible.
Within a short amount of time, a new structure will be emerging. With this new structure, the armed forces, I believe, will get fresh blood.
In an interview with Reuters Thursday, President Erdogan said the country's army will be restructured soon as the Supreme Military Council meeting is brought forward by a week from August 1st. Erdogan also mentioned the state of emergency could be prolonged to render people's daily lives more functional, calling last Friday's coup attempt, quote, cruel terror that killed and bombarded the Turkish people.
Our objective remains clear. Just like since July, we've been conducting operations against a separatist terrorist organization. This will be treated as another terrorist organization, the Gulunist terrorist organization.
What we're seeing here is a shift in the alliance in the Middle East. President Erdogan, having defeated the coup, which was inspired by, some say, by the West, by the CIA, is now realigning himself with Russia. This is going to change the whole tenor of the war in Syria, and I suspect that the sanctions are reaction to what President Erdogan just did in Turkey, an attempt to reestablish their initiative in Syria at a time when it's falling apart because of the Turkish coup d'etat.
McDonald's is forced to change its menu due to food shortages in Venezuela. The situation has gotten worse, and the famous McDonald's Big Mac is now off the menu. There aren't French fries either. There's no hamburger buns. There are severe shortages of basic goods like rice, beef, toilet paper, and soap. Economists say the shortages are caused by price controls, making it unprofitable for businesses to produce or import goods.
The active ingredient in marijuana may be contaminating an entire town's water supply in Colorado. The FBI this morning is helping state investigators in the town of Hugo learn how THC could have ended up in a well. Barry Peterson is in Denver, that's northwest of Hugo. As hundreds have been warned, please do not drink the water.
Well, there have been no reports of any illnesses or ill effects, and there are really two big questions. Is this really THC, the active ingredient in marijuana? And was a well tampered with, which may be how this substance, whatever it is, got into Hugo's water supply. Police say the substance may have been introduced into the system at one of the town's 5 water wells, and if so, it looked like it was done on purpose. The presence of THC was discovered by a company that conducts routine employee drug tests, but the results are far from definitive, and samples are on their way to state labs. Still, it's cause for big concern in this small town of more than 700 people.
I was in the grocery store. I was in there about 10 minutes, and in that amount of time, people had rushed in and sold out of the water. This causes a real concern, because if it happens in Hugo, Colorado, it can happen any place.
Colorado law permits the legal sale of medical and recreational marijuana, but counties can decide whether or not to allow it. Hugo, part of Lincoln County, does not contain any commercial pot sale operations, but people can grow restricted amounts at home. For the moment, authorities are simply not sure what they're dealing with.
Right now on Virginia Beach, some residents are wondering what killed hundreds of fish near the Stumpy Lake spillway.
You can see video of the dead shadfish our photographer found. Definitely a bad combination with the summer heat. 10 on your side's Aaron Kelly found out the heat may be exactly what caused this. Aaron?
And the Department of Environmental Quality says this has happened before and could happen again. They say it's likely that the fish were carried over this spillway. They got trapped in this area and then they couldn't survive.
Horrific? Potent?
That's how Kelly Long described the smell of this. Hundreds of dead fish, believed to be shad, along the spillway and swamp off Stumpy Lake. Long sent 10 on your side photos after noticing them on an early morning run at the Virginia Beach-Chesapeake line.
I first noticed the stench when I was about halfway from that curve over there at Elbow Road, and it was just overwhelming. And then I got here and I saw the many piles, and I figured something was up.
She'd never seen anything like it in her 2 years in the area.
Yeah, pretty scary, isn't it? Who says you can't get lightning when it's sunny outside? That's what these guys saw in Charlotte, North Carolina. This was on Thursday. And I'll tell you what, I know the phrase sounds so tacky when thunder roars, go indoors, but that is exactly why we say that. Because even if a storm is just nearby, it can be sunny outside, and that was it. I mean, you saw an example of it right there. Now, here's another thing that it's not a good idea to do. Film a thunderstorm outside. I've done it before. Don't get me wrong. Luckily, I haven't encountered something like that. This was out of Lawrenceville, Georgia. So both of these videos from yesterday, literally, okay, that's just one day. And this is, I think, the time of year where we really got to be careful with this stuff because there's so much lightning in these summer storms. And a lot of people think, oh, I'm not going to be the one. I'm just going to go out there and film it. Like I said, I've done it before, but I'll tell you, since working here and seeing some of these videos, I do it a whole lot less.
Scientists say it's not a matter of if we'll see a volcanic supereruption, but when. And they say we'll have a year to prepare for it, or panic. It'll make the movie Dante's Peak look tame. Unlike ordinary eruptions, supereruptions are catastrophic, real doom and gloom stuff. They can crush continents, trigger ice ages, and end life as we know it. Our planet has seen several in its history. Over the past 2 million years, Yellowstone had 3. By analyzing quartz crystals at the site of a supereruption 760,000 years ago, researchers at Vanderbilt were able to determine the volcano's rim growth rates. Rim growth corresponds with decompression, the beginning of the end. They found the decompression process starts less than a year before it blows. Not that it's any consolation to us.